Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is about installing power windows on a 1950 Chevrolet 3100 truck. I guess most trucks will probably be similar, but they're not all the same. 47 through 54, they're similar, but they have different parts in the doors and things like that. Up to 50, there's no vent window, but 50 on to 54, or however far it goes, there's a vent window here. So I hope I'm right about that. But what we'll do today is we need to undo or take out the regulator, the window regulator, the manual regulator, the one you have to crank. We're going to install a power Nu-Relics regulator. They go in pretty easy. I've done the other side already, so it's not too bad. I've done them on a Mustang that I built. And let me tell you this about when you buy parts, right? So on that Mustang, the customer brought the regulator to me. It's something I think he had bought off of eBay. And those windows with all the weather stripping, new weather stripping, the felts and all that, it makes it tight going up, the channel when they go up and down. So my advice to you is buy the Nu-Relic, the Nu-Relics regulators, because he had bought a set of just no name regulators. They didn't have enough power to muscle the window up. I'm sure like on a car that didn't have the new felts and the new weather stripping, it probably would go up and down just fine. But keep in mind, once you replace all the channel, your felts, that's the anti-rattle stuff, your glass is going to be tight in there. So you need something that has enough muscle to push it up. So we ended up going back with Nu-Relics. So we got those, took the ones out that we had installed. I installed those. They work great. They work just fine. So it lets the window up and down, no problem. And so that's why my advice to you is to stick with what works, and I'm telling you what works. So do what you want to do, but this is what has worked for me. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So what you'll do is, if you don't have any of these clutch head sockets, you might want to go ahead and get yourself a set. You're going to need them, not unless someone has replaced these bolts with a regular hex head bolt, because these older Chevys, this is what they use across the board. And these four sizes, you should be pretty good. And I could probably, link you to it, or, if you have a question or comment, I can definitely send you to the right place to buy them. So this is a 1/4 inch. I'm using a 1/4 inch. Now I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I need to go ahead and do right now, which I don't think there is, but the actual guide that goes in there, that the window, the track, that the rollers go on, you can go ahead and remove that if you like. If not, it's going to fall down. Keep in mind, if you have a truck that you want to protect the paint on the outside of the door, be careful not to bang the regulator up against the skin, because it'll make little positive dents that'll stick out on the other side of the door. So if you don't want to ruin your paint, just be careful not to do that. I am going to bring it up a little bit off of the lower bump stop, just so I can get that channel out, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because this channel is, get my arm down in here, you can see it slides on the rollers, and if it's all the way down, it's going to impede it from getting it out. So you might want to just go ahead and slide it
off the edge of this roller here. You see that? It rotates, right? So once you have it like that, you can rotate it up and bring it through the top. And I'll just bring it out of here because that's where my hand is already. So I'm gonna bring it out of there. And you clean it up a little bit, clean all the grease out and all the debris, because there's years of metal shavings and debris in there, and you don't want that in those messing up your new rollers on your Nu-Relics. So what you want to do is, it says by the directions, grease your channels. You're going to grease your idler channel, and you're going to grease this channel up with like a high temp bearing grease. So very high temp, and it says no, don't use any moly lubes or anything like that. So just as long as it's like a high temp bearing grease, you should be good to go. Just grease everything up so you have a smooth operation. This is the regulator, the manual regulator that was removed. They get worn out over a period of time, and you're going to have to replace them at some point. But on the one that we're installing, we're only using these 3 points to install it. And then it has one of those, so you got 3 rollers, right? So one of the rollers goes on the idler, track that's attached to the door. So this will slide to the idler track that you cannot see from the outside of the door. You have to look down inside to get this one to go in. And then these will go on the track for the window that goes across these rollers here. And just take that guide and you'll just slide it on, and then you'll actually bolt the glass channel to that track. For this here, I'll show you what goes there. And basically, it's your switch will bolt back up to there. I don't know if it's going to use those exact mounting points, but the switches that we have, I can show you how they go back and how we use them. So this is what comes in the box from Nu-Relics when you get it. Except there'll be 2. I've installed the left side already on the truck. So they're packaged individually, and they're on a separate piece of board. And this was wrapped, covered completely in the plastic. I've undone it so I can show you the labels on it. But this is how it'll come, right? So this is for the right side. It's labeled. That's the passenger side. And you can see it's a 47 through 50 Chevrolet truck. Okay. It's very well made. The actual gauge of the metal is a lot thicker than the cheaper regulators that you might be able to get. Like I was telling you before, on the Mustang that we installed some of the cheaper regulators on, it was bending. All this was flexing in the up position to put the window up. All this would flex, and it really wouldn't drive the window up into the channel because it was so tight. So this part here is very important. Made in the USA. This regulator is Nu-Relics. They're about an hour and a few minutes away from my shop. So yeah, so I feel confident about that. If I have a problem, I can call them up. Even I just stop in at their shop, probably at the factory, if I have a problem. These are the switches, actually, the up and down switches, and it's going to operate just like the crank, but it's only going to rotate a few degrees in one direction and rotate a few degrees in the other direction. And what happens is you have limit switches in here, the roller type limit switches. And so it's going to, you know, contact one roller limit switch on one position and the other limit switch on the other position to go either up or down. And they're kind of tricky to wire, so I'll show you that later on the video, how you wire it up once we get toward the end of the video. But anyway, that's going to go in a location of, so this will go in the location of the regular crank handle. That's where the crank handle was, you know, bolted to the doors, to the door right here. So that's going to go inside the door, and you'll attach the crank handle here, and it's only going to rotate a little bit in either direction to put the window up or down. And so once we get to that, you can see, and you know, it'll be more clear. The installation is straightforward. Like I told you before, you have that factory idler bar that's welded in with a few spot welds or pinch welds. That's on the inside of the door, right up under the handle where the actual armrest handle is on the inside of the door. It's welded in, so that's important because one of your rollers is going to slide into that. And you have the factory lower stop that's welded in. That's on the inside of the door. You can't see it. Then you have your 3 regulator mounting holes. That's where you'll put your 3 bolts at. And these are the ones that you'll put in. You'll take these out. You'll take all these bolts out, those 3, before you put the regulator inside of the door. You'll line it up with your holes, and then you'll put your bolts in. You'll bolt it back in using the new bolts instead of the old clutch head bolt. You can leave the window in any position. Usually, I had to let the window all the way down to actually get it out, to get the glass out. So you can leave the regulator in any position you like, because all of this, it moves. So when you're taking it out of the door, you'll be able to collapse it. This pivots, and so you know, all this pivots. So you just have to kind of maneuver it to get it out of the door. All right, I'm gonna take a chance to show you how to actually get the glass out. It's straightforward. All you have to do is take the three bolts out, or four bolts out of the lower channel that bolts it to this channel, the roller guide. So once you get that removed, then you lower the glass, or tell you how I did it. I lowered the glass all the way down to the bump stop. I had to remove the inner frame, which is put on with Phillips head screws. I removed those. I took out the anti-rattle felt from this one, and of course, you know, this felt was attached
to the actual frame that I've already removed. So you're just giving yourself some clearance in here to get that glass out. And so how I did it was, and let me grab the glass and I'll show you. So how I ended up doing it is just turning the glass in that direction, right? Kind of that way. You can see it's not really where it should be at, but you turn it in that way and then you can take it out and you can get it past the top of the frame and just pull it out like that. And what I was showing you about unbolting it, let me sit it down. You can see the threaded holes for the bolts. Now that's where you'll unbolt it. And I'm sorry I didn't show you that before, but I'd already taken the glass out, so you know that's why I didn't. So let me show you on the other. I'll grab the other guide track and put it back, and I'll show you how it removes. This is how it goes on the track. Bolt there, a bolt there, bolt there, and a bolt here. You have 4 of them. You remove those. You would put the glass up. Let me show you the position that you would put it up to. You would bring your glass up. If the regulator is working properly, you can try to get the glass up to this access hole. That's for 1 bolt, and you can access the other bolts through this access hole in the door. And basically that's how you access those. And once you do that, just go ahead and lower the window down to the bump stop. Take that glass, it's in like this long ways, and you rotate it vertically and you'll bring it out the top and past the frame. And if you're going to replace the glass, which we need to, is delaminating in some areas. So this glass will get replaced. So what we'll do is we'll remove these fasteners here. And basically you just take that clutch head and just, you know, counterclockwise, that comes out, and then there's one on the other side, which is, it's like a nut. And I'll show you. I'm gonna turn this glass over and I'll show you. But you have to take this out. Then I had to take a punch and drive that nut out because it was rusted. So I had to drive it out and then separate this frame from the glass. It's in there, you can see. Well, maybe you can't see, but when I install it back, I'll install it with some, they basically have a glass frame for like vent windows, and you know, these side window frames that go on, they have a kind of like a rubber, almost like a rubber tape. And so you put it, or channel tape, you put it in the channels and you put it in this lower channel, and you know, put it all back together, put your fasteners back in each side, and that should do the trick. This is a view from the back side. You can see the actual nut. It doesn't look like a nut, but that's a nut. So you can drive it out from the other side. Take a punch and just put it down in the hole and drive it out, and it comes out. And let me show you the hole that it goes through. That's how this piece looks when it's removed from the glass. You see the channel, and then you see over here is where that little screw goes through, and it has a little nut with a sleeve that goes through the other side. I'll grab those and show. I have some new ones, but let me grab the old ones and I'll show you. That's the screw, and that's the sleeve. You take the screw out, and you take something. If it doesn't come out easily, you're gonna have to drive. You have to drive the sleeve out. It's not very big, but hopefully they'll come out. On one that I was trying to take out, the actual head, the head stripped out, the clutch head stripped out. So I had to take a drill bit and drill that head off. And then I was able to take a punch and just drive, you know, everything out of the bottom
so I can separate it, and you can see that's how it's separated. This is what I do to my glass. This is kind of important. I don't know if it matters on this application, but I label my stuff. The R stands for right, the arrow stands for the direction of the front, and this is the inside. So I don't know if it really matters, but you know, just I put things back before, you know, that I thought didn't matter and had to take the whole thing apart because it did. So save yourself some time and just put it back the way it came out.
What I'm doing now is I need to clean that channel that the roller is going to go in. Just get a microfiber or whatever kind of cloth you have, and push it down there and get it the best you can. Of course, you're not going to be able to see it while you do it, but seems like it's dry, like it didn't have any grease in it, but just do it. Try to get all the trash out. It's hard to get my arm. I hope I don't get my arm stuck, but I think it's fairly dry. So we'll put some new grease in it. That's what we're using. I picked this up at Lowe's hardware store. I don't have the dispenser, so I just use like a screwdriver. That's just how I do it. I know people are gonna say, well, man, why don't you have a dispenser? But I just use a screwdriver. Get enough on it, get it up in that channel, and just slide it around, and hopefully enough will get in to make a difference. Channel is right here, along in here. See, that's what I'm left with, so I wipe that off so that I don't contaminate the container when I get some more off to put on the other tracks or whenever I use it again. Don't want to contaminate it. Okay. I want to remove these. So when I put it in, I'm going to go kind of try to put it in like that. Go down. Get this on my the track that's right here. The roller guide that's right here. Get that on that, and it'll be, let me see, it'll look something like this once I get it in. So it's going to sit like that for the most part. Something like that. So that's how it'll sit. For those who don't know, this is how it goes, right? So you see the channel? It's made like a C. The shape of it's made like a C. So it'll go like this, and it slides like that. But this will be right here on the idler. Goes like that.
I'm having a little bit of trouble aligning the holes where it bolts to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to bump it a little bit, put a little power to it and move it. So I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna mark that tooth, that one tooth, just for a reference. So I know if I've gone too far, you know, by looking at this and that mark to go that way or that way. So just kind of a reference from where I started from. So what I had to do is I put some screwdrivers down inside, not actually down inside of the socket where the connector goes, but I just slipped it inside of the insulation just so to have contact with the metal. And I'm going to put a voltage, 12 volts across here, and see if I can move it. These go directly to the motor, these do. And I've already checked it, I looked at it. So these are the motor supply. They supply the motor. So it's either gonna go two directions. You put the positive here, negative here, it's gonna go one direction. You put the positive here and the negative here, it'll go the other direction. So just barely bump it. If you have to do this, barely bump it. You know, if you're not using the switch control, just barely bump it, and it'll go one way or the other. So you don't want to go too far in one direction and bind something up, since it's not all bolted in firmly. So just do that just to try it out. So that's what I'm about to do. So let me try that. Finally got it to go. So what I had to do is I had to hook it to a jump box that I have, or you could just hook it to a battery, however you want to do it, to get it to go in a down position. And then I was able to put these in. Otherwise it was hitting the lower bump stop brace or bracket. So I waited. I put these in first. I aligned these, put those in first, and then I bumped it back, going to the down position, to get this to slide, and to get the roller to slide back into the idler channel, and on the inside of the door. So that's how I had to do it. It worked that way. On the other door, I didn't have to do any adjustments. So I bumped it. I was able to get in, but this one I had registration mark. It moved, jogged the motor in that direction, in both directions. I really should have marked to get it to work wires as far as just be careful and reverse, not to really. I forgot to, but so you just jog it for like a split second in this direction. The gears are going in that direction. So too much, it's going to jam. You'll jam something. The rollers will get up here. They'll start pushing up against some of the, sheet metal. And it's such a strong regulator, it'll bend something. So just be careful.
The next item we need to install is the switch, and then we need to wire it up. But we won't get to that part in this video. I'm gonna split this up into this will be a two-part series video. So the first part being the regulator installation, and the second part being the switch and wiring the switch up. So catch, the second part of the video. You might want to go ahead and subscribe, and check out my other videos also on this truck. It's a pretty interesting truck. We have a lot of things that we did a total swap. Well, I did a total swap. I took everything from a 2000 Silverado truck and put it into this 1950 Chevrolet truck. That includes the wiring harness, the computer, the body control module, and just everything that I could. We're moving over the HVAC unit because we have the factory compressor that's on the engine. Right now, as I speak, I'm working on the push button start, the passive active, keyless. So basically that means that you have a key in your pocket, you get in a truck, and you can, press the push button. You don't have to use a key, and you can stop it by using the push button also. You won't need a key to start the truck and to stop the truck. Basically, is what that means. We'll have GPS speed hut gauges. They work well. I've used those in the Mustang that I built. We're going to have a backup camera. There's a doubled in touchscreen head unit that we've installed on the dash, and just a lot of little other things, that we can bring over